Whenever you play a Kingdom Hearts game, you will usually play one of two ways. A carefully executed combination of aerial combos, summons, and maybe some reaction commands, and a drive form or two. Or, you will play like an absolute savage Beanie Baby who just mashes X until you win because it does big damage. While the latter method is a perfectly acceptable way to play in most games, mainly the numbered ones, it's not exactly ideal for others. In Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance, you'll do much better if you utilize the command deck. In Chain of Memories, you should really focus on optimizing your deck, and with more than just random numbered cards and so on. You get it. The point is that not every Kingdom Hearts game plays the exact same way. The spin-offs like to go off and do their own take on this series' signature gameplay style from time to time, and that's what makes them so fun to me. But instead of adapting to these new gameplay styles and enjoying them for what they are, some fans would rather complain that the brand new shiny Kingdom Hearts title doesn't play like their favorite game from 2006 that rhymes with Pilgrim Farts 2. I promise I love Kingdom Hearts 2, guys. It's just frustrating when it's marked as the standard when every game that came after it is just as good in their own ways. Except Dark Road, but I'm just getting ahead of myself and I'm getting kind of off topic here. I am, of course, here to talk to you, my dear viewer, about how you have been playing Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2 completely wrong this entire time. Here's why. Back in 2007, Square Enix revealed their grand plan to make 3 different spin-off titles following the success of Kingdom Hearts 2, which, again guys, I promise I love it very much, but instead of being done by Square Enix directly, Hand stepped in and took the reins, while Square oversaw it from a supervising role. Nomura, when deciding to make the game for a mobile gaming device, stated that from the start he wanted the game to play slightly different from the other games in the series. At the same time, the development team Hand were trying to make the game play similarly to the games prior, but couldn't really manage to do it due to the number of buttons, hence why the camera controls in this game kind of suck. It has since been remedied and fixed in Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2 Melon Mix, a fan mod with improved graphics and HUD layout, but it was, and still kind of is, quite an issue for most people that play it on original hardware. Camera controls aren't the only thing about this game that are clunky, however, with the Keyblade combos feeling pretty lackluster and sluggish to many who experience it hot off the heels of Kingdom Hearts 2's impeccably fun drive forms and snappy combos. As you can see, Roxas' starting combo with the base Kingdom Key is a simple 1-2-3-4 swing, just like Sora from Kingdom Hearts 1, which, if we're talking from lore reasons, makes perfect sense because Roxas was created from Sora as we see him in that game. So of course his combos wouldn't be super crazy or amazing or really anything like that, they would just be similar to his. And I mean, it's not like his combos stay this way forever through the entire game either. Your Keyblade, just like in other games, can be upgraded and changed to fit different play styles. From what I can tell just by looking at and playing around with all 23 Keyblades included in the game, there are essentially 9 different categories of Keyblade available, each specializing in a certain style of combat. Most of the different styles of keys have about 2 to 3 different stages in descending order, so that the final one in each category is always an improvement of what came before. Missing Ache, Ominous Blight, and Abaddon Plasma make your ground combos faster and longer. Pain of Solitude, Sign of Innocence, and Crown of Guilt boost your magic to do unreal damage. Abyssal Tide and Leviathan increases the number of swings you can get from your air combos. True Light's Flight and Rejection of Fate have a wide swing range and incredible reach, allowing you to do damage to multiple foes at once and with ease. Midnight Roar, Glimpse of Darkness, and Total Eclipse increases your strength stat so that even if your swings are slow, you hit harder than a truck. Silent Dirge and Lunar Eclipse greatly increase both your strength and magic so that you can rock both at maximum power for a true sense of balance. The Darker Than Dark key, or Hazard Gear as it's called in the menu, increases your magic and has the same advantage in its reach as the previously mentioned True Light's Flight and Rejection of Fate, making a really deadly Keyblade. Astral Blast is another balancer type that will give you a near perfect balance in the number of ground and air combos you can perform. Pair it with some sight units for some really great damage dealing. Maverick Flare and Twilight Blaze are 2 of the best in the game with huge boosts to strength and ground combo speed, and they are named after the champion in Ultimate Gears if they didn't already sound impressive enough. Then there are the ones that fall into categories all of their own, like the Omega Weapon, aka Pandora's Gear, which is so formidable and ominous, and Zero Gear, which is probably the best in the entire game since it gives Roxas his dual-wielding mode, and you can't forget the Mystery and Casual Gears for being both funny and cool all at once. On top of their already pre-existing combos, some Keyblades can also come up with combo modifiers that do different things through a well-timed press of the Y button. Y combo finishers can make the simple 1-2-3 combo into a 1-2-3-4-5 or sometimes into an all-new combo entirely. There's also the Limit Break, which was of course brought over from the Final Fantasy series to give the player a last resort all-out attack for when the going gets tough that your inner button masher will just adore. I know that all of these keys with their bizarrely cool names and functions can be confusing and not always immediately be noticeable at first, but thankfully it's pretty easy to distinguish the different keys due to their color coding and signs within the panel's menu. And you should also keep in mind that these are just the base Keyblades without any linked panels at all. Link panels attach to your Keyblade, and the more you link to it, the more you can do. A lot of them are pretty straightforward. You got your power units, which increase your strength stat, magic units for your magic stat, guard units for your defense, and best of all, sight units for your crit percent and crit bonus. This gives the player the capability to customize their experience even further than ever before, but it just gets better. Ability units is where it gets really interesting. By attaching ability units to your Keyblade, you can get added bonuses to your attacks and magic, with some of these abilities being passive and some of them being more active. Alive and Kickin' is so broken. You know how almost every enemy in this game is a total damage sponge and they almost never really seem to take any stagger unless you have a well-timed block? Well, fear no longer, my friend, because if you get the Alive and Kicking ability, you will always stagger an enemy so long as you're at full HP, so you can basically put your foes into an infinite combo. Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder Finish are some of the coolest abilities you can get with your Keyblade. On the final hit of your combo, there's a chance of inflicting Ignite, Freeze, or Stun to your foe. And I should mention that one Keyblade, the Hazard Gear that I mentioned before, can have them all when you link 3 ability panels to it, making it like a Russian roulette of all 3 abilities. Remember what I was saying earlier about enemies being damage sponges? Well, Brick Wall makes you, my friend, the damage sponge. Hits will still register as damage, but you won't stagger if you're in the middle of a combo. Chain time makes it so that your chains last longer, and chain power increases the amount of damage you do when the chain is maxed out. You'll know it's maxed out when the heart is beating super fast in the top left. Alright, I'm going through this list and they start to get a little bit less impressive as it goes on. Combo Air Slide in the middle of the combo, which is something I thought you could always do anyways, but I guess not. Combo Jump gives you the big jumpies while you're in the middle of a combo. Damage Control. When your HP is in the yellow, you take half damage. Defender. Gain a boost in defense whenever your HP is low, something that pairs remarkably well with damage control. Striker does the same thing, but instead it increases your attack power. Critical Boost. It improves your crit rate. Woo! Okay, this next one is kind of cool. Heart Bonus. For every 300 hearts you gain in a mission, you will heal completely. Even though a cure spell or two would get the job done just as well, the uniqueness of this cannot be understated in my opinion. Magic Bracer is also really cool and unique to this game only. Like Leaf Bracer, which allows you to cure even when you're under attack, Magic Bracer makes it so that you can always finish casting whatever spell you want without interruption, which is just so fucking cool to me. Like, imagine that, an ability that is exclusive to this game, and it has to do with magic. Magic Finale goes well with Magic Bracer because whenever you're using the last cast of any magic you've brought with you, it will do even more damage than the one before. Offensive Block. When you're mid-combo, you have the chance to deflect attacks with attacks of your own, so basically your Keyblade swings are blocking while you're attacking sometimes. Second Chance, a tried and true classic that lets you always keep at least 1 HP after receiving a heavy attack. Vitality Barrier and Surge will help you out tremendously if you're good at not getting hit. So long as you remain at full HP, you will have an additional boost in strength, and you will only take 1/3 amount of damage when you do eventually get hit by something. And all of these are just the ones you get from the ability units that you put on your Keyblades. You can also gain passive and active abilities by equipping rings, but if I were to go into all of those as well, it would be a much longer video. So if you'd like to see a video going into all of that, please tell me in the comments. But yeah, as you can see, the physical combat side of this game is not nearly so dull and boring and simplistic as people make it out to be sometimes. Sure, it might not be as exciting as combat is in other games, but the point I'm trying to make here is that you don't have to make it seem like it's a total failure on the devs' part. All you really need to do is optimize your Keyblade loadout for every mission as needed. However, coming from someone who has sunk an absurd amount of hours across multiple copies of this damn DS game, there's truly only one way to play it to its fullest potential, and that's to focus more on your magic. Yep, it's that simple. Just become a wizard, bro. Problem solved. Magic is severely underutilized outside of games that don't have a magic gauge, and I mean, of course it is. What's the matter, Sora? You can only cast Kuraga once and it uses up all of your magic? Well, that's tough, son. Because I've got 20 casts of it in my pocket right here. Here you go, take one. Looks like you need it more than me. Jokes aside, magic is truly the most fun aspect of combat in Days. We've got Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, Arrow, and Cure, as well as each of their 2 evolved stages. But the best part is that every different stage of each spell acts completely different from each other. So Fire doesn't just disappear and get replaced by Fyra, but both are used in tandem for separate situations that you might run across during any given mission. Fire is a heat-seeking spell that does decent damage all around. Fyra shoots in a straight line, but it can even take out multiple opponents at once if they are lined up correctly, and it does more damage than Fire, but loses that heat-seeking effect. Furaga is performed by firing a ball of flames into the air and letting it crash into the ground like a tiny meteorite, where it will absolutely decimate anything caught within its area of effect. Blizzard is also heat-seeking, but it moves in a zigzag motion until it lands on its target, where it even has a slight chance of freezing the enemy solid. Blizzara is done sort of the same way as Furaga, but instead of combusting on impact, the effect lingers there until an enemy runs into it, and it has a higher chance of freezing than Blizzard. Blizzaga is like a landmine that freezes any enemy that comes close to it, and it has the highest chance of freezing, but also it's the hardest to get hits with. Thunder shoots down bolts of lightning in a row in front of you. If you get an enemy pinned against a wall, you can use this to land multiple hits of thunder against it. Thundara calls down bolts at random, and while it doesn't always hit as often, it can be good for crowd control or against bosses that take up a lot of space in the area you're fighting. Thundaga calls down a single massive bolt that is usually only good against enemies that like to hold still, because there's a slight delay between casting it and it actually hitting. Arrow is another heat-seeking spell that is shot straight ahead, but it can also hit targets if you lock onto them. And Aurora is the same, but travels a longer distance. Eroga, on the other hand, is an area of effect version of the other two, creating 2 rings of wind around the player character. All 3 have the potential to launch enemies, which will allow you to deal massive damage while they remain airborne. Cure functions like it always has, it just heals the player's HP partially. Cura, on the other hand, is a continuous healing effect that lasts for a couple of minutes, boosting the player's HP over and over during that period of time. And Kuraga lays down an AoE field that can heal party members that step inside of it, which would be useful, but you don't really ever have a chance to use this unless you're playing with friends, and I don't know what that is like still. I really like this version of Magic because it allows each tier of each cast to feel different and like a real system rather than just a pure upgrade. Magic paneling is also very fun because you can customize how much of each spell you bring. There's magic multiplication panels that double, triple, or even quadruple the number of casts inserted into the slots. You can also level up the potency of each spell with the magic leveling panel that makes them hit that much harder. Pair this with a good magic boosting Keyblade and with all of the magic panels linked to it, and you could be one of the strongest mages in the verse. The point is that every magic type is situational and good for different things, but I haven't even talked about how good its damage is. For the amount of damage Roxas can do with a couple of swings from a Keyblade combo, you can do in mere seconds with the right spell. Oh, and did I mention status effects? I didn't? Well, let me tell you about something, man. There is nothing more satisfying than getting a burn, freeze, stun, or tossed effect, and then following it up with the right spell. If you freeze an enemy, hit it with a fire spell. If it gets tossed in the air, hit it with a thunder, and so on. It does something like 4 times damage, I think. That's just like a rough number off the top of my head, but just trust me, you've got to try it. And if you want to learn more about magic stacking, you should check out my status effects video right over here. So now that you've reached the end of this rather thorough explanation, what do you think about Days' combat? Still think it's complete bullshit? Well then just leave me a comment below and I'll debate you on it all day. Special thank you to Low-Key Matt and Spice Senpai for the cameo appearances, and until next time, I am your humble host Key. Catching you next time. Peace.